Now, Newcastle Airport, which is my home airport, claims to be the best in the world. Now, I fly in and out of here dozens of times a year, and whilst there's a lot that they do good, I've never really ranked them that highly. There's certainly no Singapore Airport or Qatar. But am I missing something? And on what basis are they claiming to be the best in the world? Well, today I'm here for a very early morning BA flight to find out. And as I make my way up to the airport from the car park, a quick word about the airport's history. The original airport opened back in 1935 as Waltington Aerodrome at a cost of £35,000. And one of the earliest uses of the airport, alongside being used by flight clubs, was one of the largest civil-operated flying schools to train RAF crews. The airport was then requisitioned at the outbreak of the Second World War, during which it was used for occasional operations before being handed back to the council in 1946. The airport saw its first major upgrade in the mid-60s with a new runway and terminal, and then in 1978, with annual passenger numbers topping 1 million, it was rebranded as Newcastle Airport and recognised as a regional international hub. In the early 90s, the airport was connected to both Newcastle and Sunderland city centres via the metro, making it really easy to access. And the airport saw rapid expansion in the early 2000s, getting up to over 5 million passengers per year. Unfortunately, things slowed down a lot due to the events of 2020. A lot of routes have been cut and haven't returned, a lot of airlines have left, EasyJet withdrew from the airport as one of its bases, and passenger numbers have remained below 2019 levels since then. But things are looking up, and I'll explain why once we get through security. Newcastle Airport was one of the first in the UK to introduce the new scanners that allow you to leave your liquids in the bag, and alongside this they refurbished the full security area. I'm heading through Fast Track today thanks to my BA Gold status, but honestly it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Before refurbishment, and actually during the refurbishment as well, there were quite long queues if you weren't in Fast Track, but this is rarely the case now. And going through the standard queues often takes about the same time or even faster than Fast Track. We actually tested this once. My partner Kelly went through the standard line and I went through Fast Track, and she actually made it out before I did. So they are generally pretty efficient, and it means that you don't have to rush to the airport to get there hours beforehand, although I still do like to do that. Right, we're through security now, so as promised, let me tell you why things are looking better. Well, passenger numbers are increasing, new routes are coming in, with big expansions from Ryanair, TUI and Jet2 over the last few years, and EasyJet have also started to bring back some international routes as well. And more airlines and routes keep getting announced, with new additions for 2025 including Norwegian Air flights to Copenhagen, Eurowings flights to Berlin, and Blue Islands flights to Channel Islands. And the airport's also really well connected to some major hubs. It's got multiple daily flights with BA down to Heathrow, like the one I'm doing today. KLM have multiple flights a day to Amsterdam, there's multiple flights to Paris, and there's a daily flight with Emirates to Dubai, plus flights over to Frankfurt with Lufthansa most days as well. There's also been good investment in the general facilities in the airport over the last couple of years. In addition to the new security, there's been loads of new bars and cafes opened up, and the lounge, which we'll be checking out shortly, has also gone through a major renovation over the last year too. But I would say that is the main facilities once you get through security. It's not like some of these big fancy international airports where you've got loads of things to do once you get through security. It is just bars, restaurants and a limited number of shops, but I guess that's all you need. The lounge is an Aspire lounge and it's split into two main areas. The first main area to the right is for passengers who've paid for entry or have access through a membership like Priority Pass. And this is also where TUI Premium passengers are sent. Now, this used to be a pretty horrible, dingy, overcrowded lounge, and they've massively improved it in the last year. It's now a really nicely decorated space that feels really light, and the few times I've been in here, it's never been overcrowded. Not the best food quality though, I've got to say. The other side, which is to the left of the entrance, is the Lux and Suite side. This is primarily used by business class passengers for airlines like BA and KLM, as well as those who've got status with the airlines. It's a slightly nicer space with a few different types of seating options. There's also a work area, and it includes a private workspace as well, though I've never seen anyone use that. For the drinks on this side you can help yourself, whereas in the other side you have to order from the bar, and a few things are extra charge in the other side as well, whereas everything's included at this side. I should probably just point out some of this footage is from a previous visit. They do have signs up now asking people not to film, so I'm just using some old footage here. This is the kind of food they have available in the evenings. It looks quite good a lot of the time, but it's quite poor quality to be honest, but they do have menus available where you can pay for additional things. But for this morning I just went for a bit of a full English. It was a bit of mixed quality, some of it was good, some of it wasn't, so I didn't quite make it through all of it, but it was a good enough start to the day and I was able to get myself a decent coffee as well. The food on the other side is pretty much the same, there's just a couple of additional options that you get on the Lux side. I believe though that in the Suite section you get the stuff that would be an additional charge in the Lux section included,
As far as I'm aware, the only people that get into the suite section are those who pay for it or who fly Emirates business class. But now it's time to get on board the flight and see what BA economy's like these days. Once we're up in the air, I'll talk a bit more about why Newcastle Airport does claim to be the best in the world. The jet bridge was out of action, as it often does tend to be. I don't know if it's anything to do with the storm the day before, but that did mean walking out onto the tarmac and going up the stairs. Always nice to get a better view of the plane, and I didn't mind it even though it was pretty cold. The last time I've flown with BA in economy down to London, it'd been a few months ago and I'd actually got upgraded for free at the gate, but unfortunately that didn't happen this time. But at least that gives me the opportunity to try out economy properly. My seat today was in 7A, which is just behind where the business cabin ends, although worth noting that they do vary the number of seats in business, so this might not be the same for every flight. I noticed as I was crawling my way across the seat that the seat cushioning seemed a bit loose. It seemed like it was coming off, so I wasn't sure how that would go when I was sat on it. Thankfully it was okay once I got seated though. Not a huge amount of legroom here. I would try and get the exit row if I'm in economy usually, although this flight was booked quite last minute and there were no window seats available at the exit row, and I decided I'd rather have the window seat for today rather than the extra room. I was also hoping that my gold status might mean that the seat next to me would be blocked out, as BA will tend to block these seats out of the seat map until they're needed. Unfortunately though, it was a completely full flight today. Every flight the day before had been cancelled due to the weather, so I was wedged in there next to quite a tall bloke unfortunately, so didn't have the greatest amount of room. But it's a relatively short flight, so it didn't matter too much. Just a shame the views out the window weren't the best initially. The window was a bit mucky and scuffed, but I did manage to get some good views along the way, particularly towards the end of the flight as we came in towards London. Now I mentioned this was a bit of a last minute booking for me, so let's talk about the cost of that. This was not a cheap ticket, £285 for a one-way flight between Newcastle and London. Not something I usually consider paying, but I did have some onward travel that I needed to get to London for. My original plan was to get down to London that morning via the Caledonian Sleeper the night before. That would have been quite a luxurious experience to arrive in London having slept well and had a shower, ready to go at 7 AM. That unfortunately got cancelled due to Storm Eowyn, so I had to quickly last minute try and find another alternative. I did think there was a good chance this flight would end up getting cancelled as well, but thankfully it managed to go ahead, and we did have an on-time departure. Yes, it did mean that I had to get myself up at 4 AM and go to the airport nice and early. I spent a lot more on the flight than it would usually be worthwhile to me, but it did mean I was able to get onto those onward connecting flights, so it was well worth paying that. Now, I did say once we got in the air that I would explain exactly why Newcastle Airport claims to be the best in the world, but first there's just one aspect of the airport that I've not been able to show during this journey, which I think is well worth covering, and that's the arrivals. The arrivals process, particularly if you're coming internationally and especially if you have checked bags, is definitely the worst part of the airport. The luggage carousels that they've got have clearly not kept up with the number of passengers. Every time we check bags there's some kind of issue where they take ages to come out. When they do, there's issues with the belt breaking, it's frequently stopping and shutting down and you have to wait for it to reset. We just always seem to end up getting home at least an hour later than we expect to, just because of how long that arrivals process takes. And immigration can take a while as well if you're coming from an international flight. You usually find if it's just one flight, but if multiple arrive around the same time, you're really screwed. But back up in the air, the BA cabin crew were handing out snacks and a bottle of water. You usually get an option between 2 snacks, but on this service they only have the one option for us. But again, not too big a deal on a short flight like this. If you don't like the options available, it's not too long to be back on the ground anyway. But anyway, Newcastle Airport, why is it that they claim to be the world's best? Well, it turns out they actually won an award, and the award title is Best Airport in the World. However, it was awarded by the World Routes Conference and was recognised for its operational excellence, route development and strong relationships with airlines, and for its expertise in marketing airline products and services in an innovative way. So yeah, nothing there about the specific facilities it offers and not too much that really directs to the passenger experience. And in fact, the way to get shortlisted for this award is for the airlines to nominate which airports have provided them the most marketing support over the last 12 months. So no doubt it is a great achievement for them, and I absolutely agree that the airport's done a great job of developing its route network, but I'm definitely never going to be calling it the best airport in the world. Overall, I am very happy with the airport. I'm excited to see the route network continuing to expand and to allow me to more easily travel to new places without needing to route through Heathrow all the time. Now, if they can just improve the baggage situation at arrivals and improve some of the food quality in the Aspire Lounge, then they really would have me singing their praises. Really interested to know what you think of this one. Have you travelled from Newcastle Airport before? How does it compare to your local airport? And if there are any other good regional, non-London based airports in the UK that you think are better that I should go try out, please let me know. I hope you enjoyed this video, a little bit different from my usual one, so please give it a like if you enjoyed it to let me know. Get yourself subscribed if you haven't already, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.